Right, we are making these super colourful, really cool pieces today. Let's go. Right, we are back. So, many of you have probably seen a couple of these videos going around. It's kind of a merge between the chiffon technique or effect and the cling film effect, where you lay the cling film over the resin, let it cure, and then add in interference powders or mica powders, whatnot. So I wondered how I could kind of get a similar effect in a pendant mold. So the trouble is, because these are kind of in reverse, so we need to work from the front to the back, if that makes sense. We can't kind of flip it. And so what they do in this technique is they pour a thin layer of resin, let it cure, and then kind of scrunch it up inside the mold. Now we can't do that because of the bubbles. So it got me thinking, well, it's not too dissimilar to laying the cling film over the resin, is it? But then I got thinking, I tried it with a cling film and I didn't have a very good, it turned out pretty rubbish. So it got me thinking, what could I use to kind of replace that cling film? So I then went and cut a bit of a blue silicone mat I had, but that didn't want to stay formed. So I was then scratching my head thinking, what could I use? So I then cut an old glove apart, but because they're black, because I was using UV, it wouldn't cure through the thickness of the black glove. But then I had the brainwave, didn't I? Clear gloves. We've all got these lying around. All I did was just cut a circle out of that, and this works absolutely wonderfully for what I'm about to show you. So I am going to show you this in UV just for speed, but I'm also going to do a test run with some standard just to see if this holds its form in the standard resin. So don't worry if I'm using UV resin, you can hopefully do this with 2-part resin as well. You just do it in a couple of stages. So all I did literally was just cut the glove up. Don't bin the rest of the gloves, because you could keep the fingers even and just open those out and use those in smaller parts of the mold, smaller cavities. So even a finger will work. That came out a bit wrong. So even when you open up the palm or the back of the glove, you've still got a really big sheet there. You could potentially do a coaster with this, and it's a lot thicker and sturdier than using the cling film. Right, enough waffling. Let's get mixing. So this is my regular 2-part resin, and I've just cut one of the fingers apart. So I'm just going to lay that over the top. I have not filled up my mold too much because we need to obviously allow for this to be pushed around and the final black layer. So all I'm going to do, I mean, you could make a small hole for the knobbly bit, but I'm not going to because it is just another one of my experiments. So to minimize to reduce the amount of bubbles, we just push in the middle and then just kind of work out the resin to the edges. I don't want to get too intricate with this because again it is an experiment, but once we're kind of happy with where it is, we can then just bunch bits up. Very similar to how we do the cling film technique, which actually I have never tried still to this day. So it doesn't matter if the resin comes up a little bit over the sides, but you don't want it sticking out too much because that will cause a sharp edge and more work afterwards. But just play around with it and get the ripples to roughly where you want it in the piece. So I think that would do. It's got some depth as well, which is pretty cool. So it's not moving, which is good. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just so long as we haven't got too many bubbles. And once that is cured, you can then just peel that off and brush on whatever you're going to use. So I will update this, or I will update you on this as we go. I might, because I want to get this video up later today, what I might do is post the results for this one on my community tab, maybe tomorrow. I've just moved it around a little bit more. So let's crack on with the main video. So this one's cut just a little bit larger. You could use this one as an example. So if you've got a piece like this already, you could always cut around, and then that will roughly be the size for that one up there. So we're using the Lex Resin UV resin, and I'm just gonna pour a very thin amount into my mould, like so. Go around the knobbly bit. As always, massive shout out to my channel members, anyone who's bought me a coffee or a super thanks. It's very much appreciated. Then just work out any of the bubbles that are stuck to the mould. Just like that. And the same thing as the two-part, we just lay that onto the resin. It's gone a bit off center. Come on. There we go. And just let the tension, if that's the word, let it stick down. And then we can just ripple it, same as before, to however we want it to look. Add some depth, add some ripples, just like that. And then we just give that a cure. This is why I love UV resin, it is so quick. So I just gave that 1 minute under my lamp, and now you will see. See, the trouble I had with cling film is that because UV produces heat as it's curing, same as regular, but UV produces a bit more heat. The cling film just would not peel away from the UV resin, and you can see this just peels away like resin would from a silicone mold, which has left us with this really cool effect that we've got. So you could do this as a mix with UV and two-part as well. So you could now brush on whatever you want to use, and then top it up with a standard two-part black resin, just to save on UV resin, because I think it's just a lot quicker, and we can skip out this part here, but that is still holding really well, so I don't think we're going to have any issues with that. But I am bringing out the cat eye gel polishes, so this is the code that I'm going to use on this one, and what I'll do is I'll make a few more with some different colors, and we'll see the results at the end. So many of you have already got this from watching me use it in previous videos. I'm just going to brush this on. It should give a really nice velvety finish to our work. You could layer these, you could mix up your colors, do whatever you want. So I'm just going to keep adding this bit, and we'll be back. So once you have your layer down, you can then just manipulate the pigments with the magnet, because they are magnetic, so they reflect light in different angles. And then once that is done, we can then just cure that in place as we would with UV resin. So now I'm just going in with another layer, just so the colours do pop. And then I'm just going to add some of this red colour. Give it a shake. It might not show through, but it will be interesting to see if it does. And then I'm just using the black. I'm just going to go over the whole lot with a very, very thin layer. Made a bit of a mess, but I don't care. And then just cure that black layer. So if you were doing this with two-part, you'd probably skip out that black nail varnish layer and just do a solid black mica powder mix. So I'm gonna I've got that black, because if I went in with mica powder and UV resin, it struggles, the UV resin does struggle to cure through. So I'm just gonna now just top that up with 2 layers of just a minimal amount of black mica. Okay, with this large one, I'm going in with a violet chameleon powder from Let's Resin and just see how that one goes. I'm not going to lie to you. Some of these shapes have proven very difficult. Especially this one I've just tried twice and it didn't quite work. So the shape is going to be hit and miss. You're going to have to just try and see how it goes. So with this one here, I'm using this code. So I had to restart that one again, but what I'm going to do is just use this black nail varnish just on the effect, but keep the gaps clear just to see if it actually looks like a sheet afterwards. Right, we've got a few done. I did these two the same, so I just used the black nail varnish just on the sheet effect. You can see this one's still holding up. I don't think I need to update you on that one, it will work. It's just doing it in stages. So here's one that I've also done. Didn't get a great finish on it, but you can see that shift. Let's see what we've got. As always, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment. If you haven't subbed, hit that button for me. There you go. My mould's a bit where it's just a practice mould, so ignore that. Let's see those shifts in colours. Really well. Wish I had better light coming in because you'd really see more. A lesson as well, a lesson learned from experimenting with this. Try not to go over the edges because I'm going to have to trim or sand this down where the resin has lifted over the mould. Wow, look at those colours coming through. Again, my mould's not brilliant. I have used this a lot. But you will get really good results with this. That is super cool. This is a very similar effect to what you're seeing at the moment out there. And again, very similar to just using the cling film. Let's go with this one. I know I've got some small bubbles. I could see them as I was putting my layers in. But it is an experiment. I really like that negative area. Apart from the bubbles, that is really, really cool. And the colours, look at that. Really good colour. Let's see a bubble just down there. That probably got trapped when I was putting the torn glove on. Those colours are really nice. Last one. Let me know which one is your favourite. Wow. See, mine's this. This one is definitely my favourite. Again, we've got those clear areas, which is really good. Funny, I wish I'd made the clear areas a bit bigger now. But look at that. Really has some good depth. Really good colour. And a good finish. Right, hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you for the next one. Bye for now.